Hi, my name is Viva Commander. I'm a virtual assistant and an AI automation specialist. And today I worked on a project for a client who owns an agency where they have freelancers. So this particular client has other clients that they perform services to, and they have employees in their system. So first off, here on Clockify, this is where the client tracks everything. That's every freelancer, every employee that they have on their record. You can see these are the names of the employee that they currently have, and you can see here that these are the track record for each of the employees based on the type of project that they are working with and the type of clients that they are working with. So next I'm going to move on to this. So first off, we have the timesheet. The timesheet is what tracks everything, and this is also integrated to make.com, which auto populates this field, which I'm also going to show you next. So we have the week start date and we have the week end date. This was for the previous week. That wants to calculate everything. We also have the client hourly rate, which is like a connected field from the client's table. And all of this is also interconnected to the employee table and the invoice as well. Client table, this is everything about the client. It is also linked to the employees and also the time tracker. This is where it has the hourly rate that the client is paying for. And also, the interesting thing about this is we're going to be sending invoices to the clients, and it's very important to track each of this information here because this is what we'll use for our invoice. Then we have the employees table. This is every information about the employees. They have their employee ID for Nexus Talent, which is my own client company. Then you can see the project that they are working on. You can see the employment status is currently active. If they are on leave, this can just be on leave and they don't need to work. And if they've been removed from this particular agency, they can just be turned as inactive and everything about them will just be turned off. So up next, we have the invoice table, which is going to auto populate from the invoice when we do that. So I'm going to walk you through my first scenario on Make. So the first scenario on Make pulls everything from the track record. The track record is basically everything that has is pulled from the Clockify HTTP because the client Clockify did not have a particular module on make.com. So we use HTTP to pull the record. So we use it to pull the record and we use the iterator to arrange the record by its bundle. So each of the employee comes with itself. It's not grouped together. That is what the iterator does for us. Then we have a search record on Airtable. This search record is going to search the employees table if that particular employee is on the system, and if it's on the system, it's going to give them a user ID. That's the client's user ID is going to give this to them here, and everything is going to auto populate to the time sheet once it runs. So next we have a router. This router is what would make it auto populate on Airtable. So if the employee is found, this is a condition I added here. If the employee is found, it's going to auto-populate. But if it's not found, an email is going to be sent to that particular employee. Basically means that this particular employee has been on the agency, is currently in the agency, but has not perhaps not been um, added to the database. So if that particular employee has not been added to the database, it's going to flag it here, and they can just go and meet their line supervisor or their manager to add them to the database so that each of their hours will be tracked, and the clients that they are working for would also get their invoice at the end of the month. So you can see it here for them to reach out to their line supervisor. That is to tell you that this particular employee is missing so that everything about them can be mapped accordingly. So up next, I have my confirm employee work hours. So this particular scenario is timesheet is what also populates on this place. So once it's watching the total hours, if the total hours is below a certain amount, it's going to send them an email, send them a reminder that they need to go and complete the hours. So you can see it for those that are approved, that's 40 hours per week, that's 8 hours a day. They are not going to be sent anything because they've meet their particular target. But those that are rejected, that's people that have below 15, they've not completed their hours, they are going to be sent an email and you can see the comments from the reviewer, which is also something I added through my automation on while updating the record. So once it's update the record on Airtable, it's going to give the um the comments that's for each of these routers. Then finally I have the third scenario, which is for the client to for the draft invoice. So what this does, it watches the timesheet. What I did on my Airtable was to pull everything, to connect everything from to connect everything. You can see here it has auto populated here. So it's to connect everything from each of all these tables, because this timesheet is my main table and is what I'm watching from every other thing, right? So you can see it here. It's going to set a variable. Once the set variable is running, that is calculating for the month, the entire month of July, that is this particular month from July 1st to July end, is going to do that here, and it's going to search for the record. Once it search for the record, it pulls the employee name, everything from the timesheet Zoho invoice. This Zoho invoice is to give me the invoice for that particular client. That is going to multiply the total number of hours that the employee worked with the hourly rate. So I'm just going to that it multiplies the total hour with this. This is the formula feed I sent particular client. Then another thing I did was to send them an email, because it's not just about them, it's not just about creating the invoice, but to ensure that they get the invoice and pay. So this particular email that I added here is to be sent to the client. So once it's sent to the client, everything is mapped from the invoice, that's from the previous invoice that was created, to the total amount. And I also include the URL, what it looks like,